Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Mzansi Business. Southwestern Townships, commonly known as Soweto, a lively and culturally rich township with a population of over 2 million. It is renowned as the birthplace of Kwaito music, the iconic Soweto Derby, and the celebrated South African premium lager, Soweto Gold. Soweto Gold quickly won the hearts of beer enthusiasts with its masterfully crafted lager, offering a smooth, rich flavor and authentic Kasi experience. From their humble beginnings in Orlando West, the brand has grown remarkably, doing a collab with Jameson, making its mark at the Soweto Towers, and eventually becoming a part of the Heineken family. So, how did they do it? This is the story of Soweto Gold. The Soweto Gold story begins with a man known as Ndumiso Matlala. I can't find too much information on his personal background, but in 1997, he had gone to study chemical engineering at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Following this, he received an opportunity to further his chemical engineering studies at the University of Twente in the Netherlands in 2002. While in the Netherlands, he studied brewing and became super passionate about it. His professors noticed his passion and offered him an opportunity to work on a new project involving revolutionary beer technology that replaced beer powder with membranes. And I'm not about to act smart like I know what that is, because I don't. He had then returned to South Africa and worked at Sasol for a bit as an assistant process engineer before joining South African breweries as a project engineer. Dumiso would even go further with his studies, obtaining a diploma in brewing at the Institute of Brewing and Distilling in London in 2006. So, this was one highly educated brew. He was then promoted at SAB to be the area manager for SAB's Brutal Fruit plant in 2007, where he worked until mid-2008. So, why did he leave SAB? Ndumiso was actually poached by SAB rivals Heineken South Africa and was part of the team that built the brand's iconic Sedibeng brewery in the south of Johannesburg. After 3 years with Heineken, he rejoined SAB Miller, where he was overseeing 25 breweries in 14 African countries. Around 2011, Dumiso, with his number of years in the brewing industry, wanted to set up his own brewery and launch his own beer brand and thought of the name Soweto Gold. Ndumiso noticed a gap in the market, that there were no brewing operations in the townships where most of the beer-loving folk reside. Why the name Soweto Gold? It was inspired by the Johannesburg Gold Rush of 1886. Also because of how Soweto is filled with such important South African history, he felt like South Africa needed a beer brand to represent that. Ndumiso was determined to launch the first microbrewery in a township. As you may know, the liquor business is a market that is difficult to crack, with SAB almost having a monopoly on the South African beer market, with Heineken being the only ones who can realistically compete. Ndumiso struggled to find the investment he needed, but he met a businessman known as Joe Smith, an entrepreneur and marketing specialist with over 20 years experience. They formed the company Mad Mead Brewing Company, which was registered in 2012, and they started using a brewery in KZN as they tested the market. They also realized that it would be easier to target the niche craft beer industry rather than the mass market. What is craft beer? Craft beer is like a more refined kind of beer made with higher quality ingredients at a lower scale compared to larger breweries. It was in 2013 when they sold their first beer, mainly available on tap and in cans. Ndumiso would use customer feedback for the brand's initial lager. Some people said it was too sweet, so he had to tone it down a little in the beginning. The Soweto Gold Brewery was finally set up in June 2014, being the first microbrewery in a township. The brewery was located in Orlando West and was given the name Ubuntu Krau Brewery, and started off with the Soweto Gold Superior Lager, a full-bodied, slightly sweet beer with caramel notes and fruity aromas. They would also set up this brewery as a restaurant, offering local cuisines, brewery tours, and taste tests of the Soweto Gold beer, making it an experience for all those who visited. The beer was mainly available on tap because the company didn't have a bottling plant, so they had to strike partnerships with bars and pubs to serve the beer on tap, meaning that they mainly sold kegs. Promotional efforts included sponsoring and hosting the Miss Ubuntu Krau 2014 pageant, launching Soweto Gold merch, and hosting music festivals at the Ubuntu Krau Brewery. In the same year 2014, they were voted the best craft beer by the League of Beers in Cape Town. But Ndumiso says they had their fair shares of difficulties in the beginning, including a miscalculation of capital expenditure and the fact that they had no canning or bottling facilities. They had to outsource production of small volumes to contract manufacturers to bottle for off-premises consumption. They would end 2014 with the launch of the Soweto Gold Apple Ale, which was also mainly available on tap. In 2015, the Mad Meat Brewing Company was mentioned in Forbes magazine. They would also launch the Orlando Stout, described as a wintry espresso cinnamon stout, as well as this unique alcoholic ginger beer spritzer, Gogo's Ginger. In 2015 still, demand for Soweto Gold hit an all-time high and revenue was up a crazy 1,500%. The brewery was even getting ready to double its brewing capacity, and at that point the Soweto Gold drinks were available in 65 outlets, mainly on tap, across Gauteng, Cape Town and Durban. They'd also reveal this King Shaka Zulu Royal Pilsner. I don't know too much about it except that Ndumiso tweeted in 2021 that it was available in KZN and would be rolled out nationwide soon. From 2016, Soweto Gold was available in a couple of major retailers including Pick n Pay and Tops. Ndumiso would also win the Township Entrepreneur of the Year award from the Gauteng Department of Economic Development. Soweto Gold would do this interesting collab with Jameson, launching Soweto Gold 76, which is a Soweto Gold lager matured for 76 days in Jameson's whiskey casks. The beer also honors the heroes of 1976. This collab was later one of the finalists at the One Show and Creative Week in New York City in 2017. They would also launch the limited edition Soweto Gold Cherry Ale. Also in 2017, something huge happens. Heineken, South Africa, through its fully owned subsidiary, Soweto Brewing Company, acquired all the assets and intellectual property of Soweto Gold for an undisclosed sum. They would also launch the Soweto Gold in 500ml cans as well as Ngood shortly after the Heineken deal, with Soweto Gold now being bottled at the Heineken Sedibeng brewery. And that could be one of the main reasons Ndumiso possibly sold his company to Heineken. It was always his dream for Soweto Gold to be mass produced to be able to compete with other beer brands. Heineken though obviously had their own reasons for the buy. They have been at war with SAB for the longest time for market share of the beer market, and before Heineken purchased Soweto Gold, they acquired stakes in local craft beer brand Stellenbrau, and after the Soweto Gold purchase, acquired another craft brewer, Jack Black. And if it may be of interest to you, I have a full video on how Heineken started up in South Africa right here. In 2018, they got on this aggressive expansion drive, launching Soweto Gold at various taverns in various locations across the country. They would follow this up with the Soweto Gold Flavor Yesekasi soccer tournament in each township they launched in, and even having football legends as hosts of the tournaments. They would also introduce Soweto's newest icon, the Soweto Gold Tower. And obviously from a marketing point of view, this is absolutely huge, putting so much more eyeballs on the brand. In 2019, Soweto Gold rolled out promotional efforts with a competition with prizes up to 3 million rands on offer. On the other hand, Ndumiso has since started another company, Enquires Beverages. Ndumiso's new firm purchased a Strongbow cider plant in 2019 and were producing cider base for Heineken South Africa. It seems they have since sold this plant and bought a distillery with the plans of building a co-packing business with both glass and can capability. And I can't say for sure when, but Enquires Beverages invested in the Dragon Fiery Ginger brand, a naturally fermented, traditionally brewed alcoholic ginger beer. They also have the King's non-alcoholic ginger beer as part of their portfolio. And yeah guys, that's the story of Ndumiso Madlala and Soweto Gold up to this point. As mentioned earlier, Soweto Gold Superior Lager is now produced at the Heineken Sedibeng brewery and is available nationally. The original craft Superior Lager has been rebranded as the Master's Brew and continues to be brewed at the Ubuntu Kraal, which has since been renamed to Soweto Brewing Company, along with the rest of the brand's craft portfolio. All in all, Soweto Gold is a tale of passion, creativity, and perseverance. It represents a significant chapter in the history of South African craft brewing, a genuine emblem of entrepreneurial spirit that proudly honors and celebrates the cultural vibrancy of Soweto. And that's a wrap for this video. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm Lebogang, this is Mzansi Business, and I'm out. Peace.